watching Universal Groove. I have the Illusions here with us.
Yo, what's up, everybody?
Very excited to have them here. I really want to start off by thanking Tony. Tony Medina from the Illusions gave me the opportunity to interview him. He was the first person to actually, do this. And it really led me to where I'm at now. I've interviewed a lot of musicians, DJs. It just really kind of kick-started, my little career here. So I definitely want to thank Tony for giving me that opportunity again and interviewing him.
And again, thank you for having us, man, and giving us another opportunity to be here with the whole band.
Hey, Tony's kicked off a lot of careers. Man.
Yeah, this is true.
Still trying to kick mine off, man.
Your time is coming, Tony. You got some good karma coming.
Yeah, so the Illusions again are just, one of those modern soul groups that has just kind of been hitting. Every single that they've released, everything that they've touched so far has just been really good, and it's sold off the shelves. And just the modern soul itself, I mean, they were, in my opinion, just kind of the founders of this sound. Tony has really taken this sound to the next level. Can you go into that, Tony, of just how you, bring up the Illusions and what your ideas were starting that group off?
Well, man, this idea goes way back, man, to when we were in a band called the Delirians, a reggae band, and I was living with Eric in the studio, and I probably wake him up a lot really early in the morning, bumping oldies, man, bumping records loud, full blast on Greenleaf and Uptown Whittier, and for everybody to hear. And that was just the music I loved, man. I've always loved that music. I did a little record set on the first interview of just some songs that I really love. And when we were playing reggae music, I wanted to bring that into the mix, mix the two worlds together. And eventually I just wanted to break off and do straight soul music, man. And I hit up Eric. I asked him, hey man, I want to put this band together. And I already knew the answer in my head, but I asked him, are you in? And, he said, hell yeah, I'm in, and, we started learning some songs. We created a set list of, songs to learn. And, we did this because, although we had songs written already, he and I, we did this to not only train ourselves, but all the other guys that we want to get into the band to play this style. And we felt like the way we wanted to do this, if we wanted to do this music right, we had to learn how to play the songs, of the time, of the music that we love listening to. And that's what we did. We learned, various songs, some people call it, everyone has their labels for the music, their title for what they want to call the genres: rare soul, classic soul, Motown soul. To me, man, it's just soul music.
Now, Eric, when you get this call from Tony, what's going through your mind when he's saying he wants to do, pure soul?
You know what? It's funny. I was just thinking about that because he was talking about it, and I probably have the text thread because he messaged me actually, and like I said, I live with Tony, and that's all those stories are true. Like, you wake me up with this shit blasting, you know what I mean? And you know what? He introduced me to a lot of cool music, man. I give Tony a lot of credit for that. He taught me a lot of. He'd come with these records and, hey, check out this song, man, and this is even when we were doing reggae music and rocksteady music, ska, whatever, he was listening to this shit, and I grew up in oldies too, and it was just diving deep into this music genre. So I knew that this was something he had to do in his life, you know what I mean? Put out this type of music. So when he messaged me, I seriously got goosebumps. I was like, dude, this something's happening, you know what I mean? It's going down now, you know what I mean? So it was something that was destined to happen, and I'm glad to be a part of it because like I said, I've seen him want to do this for a long time, and playing records and listening to his songs. This is a hidden passion for all of us, that we are finally able to really take a hold now. And yeah, and now a lot of the soul scene is popping right now, and it's just kind of the right time for everybody to really be really digging deep into this music. So it was something I felt destiny in a sense.
Yeah, and there's been a few singers that have been in this band, and a few singers that are in the band currently. And then, so when did you meet Atara, and what did you see in Atara, Tony, when you first heard her voice and seen her perform?
You know, I don't think I've ever shared this story with Atara, but I've thought about it constantly, especially since she's joined the band. I think it was maybe about 10 to 11 years ago in Ontario. You know, our reggae band, the Delirians, had just, you know, started playing better shows, and we were in, you know, we had just left the backyard stuff, and we started playing actual venues and stuff, and we were in Ontario. We played a gig. There was this band before us called Roots Collective, and I remember showing up, you know, watching them perform, and I see Atara on stage. I'm like, whoa. I've never heard a singer before. Like, you know, we've had singers in the band, but you know, we're all self-taught freaking backyard kids, you know, learning how to sing. But to actually hear somebody who knows how to sing was completely new to me. You know, I had my father who sang and all that, but to have someone, you know, within my age group and my same genre of music that I listened to him, I was just blown away to actually hear a really good singer performing live on stage. It was new to me. And later on, you know, we eventually crossed paths and started jamming together in other groups. And we had different singers. We started the Illusions with Nira in the band. Eventually, you know, she took off and went solo and putting out a great record also. And you know, that's when we took the opportunity. Let's hit up Atara. Like that's who we gotta get in this band. I hit up Atara, and I don't know. You want to share from there?
Oh well, Tony hit me up last year, and he was just like, hey, you know, we got a little live we're doing. He sent me some music. I went over the music, and I too grew up on oldies music, so I was like, okay, this is right up my alley. And we got together, we did a rehearsal, and it was a good rehearsal, and they were like, well, they presented to me the idea of singing lead for the group, and I was like, okay. I'm all the way down. Like, I've known, like Tony said, I've known, and Eric too, I've known them for years. And playing with these guys and seeing what they can do, seeing what they're capable of, it was kind of a no-brainer for me. I've always wanted to work with them exclusively, but I was always kind of all over the place with different groups, kind of basically backing up a lot of different groups, which is why coming on with the Illusions in a more front role was something a little different, but it was kind of a no-brainer because I had already seen what these guys were capable of. I knew what they were about, and we worked well together. And that's pretty much where it went from there. And now here we are today.
I mean, hearing Atara sing, like for the first rehearsal with us, it was just like exactly that no-brainer.
I think this fool cried.
I cried. I said it too. I was like, might have been the Jameson. I'm not sure. but
I don't remember no Jameson at that first rehearsal, but okay.
No, but I'll tell you, she's born to sing this music. I was like, definitely one of the best.
It felt natural. It felt organic.
Yeah.
It didn't feel like we were trying really hard. It was just, we were just doing what we're good at doing. And like I said, we all kind of grew up with oldies, and yeah, I was doing reggae music, so I met them doing reggae music, but when it came down to oldies music, it was a whole nother game. Like, it was totally different. So it just felt really natural for me after that first rehearsal, and it was natural just to stay on. We've been writing since. It's been a really good vibe.
Going back to what I was saying, you know, it had always been a dream of everyone in the bands to perform with Atara, you know, like she said, exclusively, and to have her as a lead singer. And when I told everybody, hey guys, you know, Atara's gonna come down and sing with us, everyone was like, what? You got Atara? What? Really? This is really gonna happen? And everyone was excited, you know. Everybody came to rehearsal well prepared this time, you know. Everybody was on top of their game because, you know, we had to step it up. If we're gonna perform with someone on Atara's level, we had to move up to the next level too, and we had to step up our game as well. And so that gave us the opportunity to do so.
Yeah, what does it feel like when you see, you know, everyone kind of like wearing like their ties a little bit tighter, Tara, you know, like, you know, the drums are just a little bit more straightened out when you walk in, and what is like going through your mind? Like, man, like these guys, you know, they really want me to be here. I mean, that's got to be a good feeling, right?
It's a great feeling, but to be honest with you, when I came to that rehearsal, I was of that exact same mindset. I was like, well, I'm going into this rehearsal working with these professionals. I gotta come in here. I was over here doing vocal exercise. I don't ever do vocal exercise.
Wow.
I'm doing vocal exercises. You know, I was listening to the music that Tony and Eric had picked out for me, and I was like, man, this music it's not easy. I was like, I gotta be ready. You know, I can't come into this rehearsal like I'm some amateur. I gotta be ready. So it's funny to hear that they were, you know, they had, like you said, they were all playing a little straighter, you know, they had ties a little tighter. Because for me, it was the same exact thing. I wanted to come and take it seriously and do my best that I could do. Like, I never had an idea like, oh, they better have it together. They better be ready. They playing with a guitar. No, I was like, you know what? You know, I know what these guys are capable of. I don't want to come out there slipping. I don't want to be slacking next to these professional musicians who are so ready for me.
Yeah, what songs did you guys kind of kick off the relationship with, and how many songs did you guys have?
I think we sent her like our like kind of a set list we had going.
Yeah.
And Tony had picked out a bunch of great favorites, and we just sent her all, like, you know, maybe like 10, 12 songs.
I want to say, I was like, yeah.
And she came in and we went at it. Boom, like, whoa, god damn. Play the next song. Like,
I was
oh,
ready.
shit, you know?
I was ready.
But I feel like that's what kind of like ignited the recording for Where Did He Come From. It's like, just right from the get-go when we heard her sing that song, I was like, Tony, we gotta record this song, man. Like, you gotta do this song. Like, she just killed it from the get-go. Like, it's just right from the beginning. So yeah, it was maybe like 10 or 12 songs. We still have some of those songs in the repertoire right now.
There's about 10 songs.
There's a rendition of the Sunday Williams song, Where Did He Come From?
Yeah.
And I heard that there's a myth that this was a one take, like one hitter quitter on the take on this. Is that true in the studio, that it was a one take?
Yeah, it was like, I mean, I set everything up to record. She comes in, and like, I've recorded a lot of singers before, you know what I mean? And like, usually it's a process, you know what I mean? And so me and Tony are there, everything's set up. We're thinking, all right, we're gonna have a few hours working on this song. You know what I mean? You know, she comes in, hit record, Sheen's rolling, and it's just like, she just kills it that first take. And me and Tony look at each other and we're just like, oh, like, you know, I don't know, man. Like, and she's just like, is that good? Is that cool? And she's like, that sounds great. I mean, I don't know. It just, that first take was just so wonderful. And she did record like a second take, but we ended up going with like the first one because it was just so gold. You know what I mean? It was just, I don't know. It's just, it had everything we wanted. It had the soul and the feel and everything, that whole touch to it. So it was a pretty like amazing experience for like me and Tony to be there, like witnessing just someone just knock it out, like, you know, grand slam in the first pitch, you know what I mean? That kind of feeling, you know?
Yes.
It was something like that. So, but yeah, we recorded it one more time. I was like, should we even record this song? Should we give it another take? I was like, all right, for fun, let's do
just
one more
for,
take.
you know what, just for shits again.
Yeah.
I think I cried that time.
What's going through your mind, Tony? I mean, this is a one take, you know, grand slam off the top. I mean, are you like, I'm a genius because I found the Tara way back then? Like, this is it?
No, not at all, man. It just felt like a huge blessing, man. Like for all of us, you know, like we found something that works, you know, 15 plus years being a musician, and we finally found the way to make it work, you know. And so it was a sense of accomplishment, not just for me, but for the Illusions, as something bigger than ourselves, you know. I never really see things as, you know, it's me who put this together and this and that. No, it's the Illusions, and we all put this work in, and we all come up with the ideas on how to record the songs. You know, Eric, we're lucky to have Eric as the skillful engineer too, so we can record our own music. And everybody brings something big to the table, and that's how we're able to accomplish what we've accomplished so far.
I'm Atara, lead singer of The Illusions. I've been singing for about as long as I can remember. I would have these reoccurring dreams of me on a stage, and I would be surrounded by lights and people. Yeah, I remember my mom would play oldies on Saturday morning, early in the morning, and she would blast gospel music to the high heavens. I'm talking to the high heavens on Sundays. Now that I'm in my own element, I'm so excited. I'm beyond excited to share this record with you. What's in a Lifetime is for the lovers in 2021 and beyond.
They say love only comes round once in a lifetime.
Just once in a lifetime.
I want to say this. I mean, I think this is kind of like in every genre that's ever been. Like, there's always going to be new soul groups coming up. There's always going to be like solo artists that are coming up, and that will add to the game, right? But I think that you guys are definitely in, right? You guys are one of the top groups up there that's producing, this new sound, and it's like, I don't know. I kind of want to say, like, for every genre that's out there, like you got to get in the door, right? You got to get in the door at the right time. It's got to be like magic, like now. Like, for example, like I was in a band before, and the music that we were playing, we were like 10 years behind, you know what I mean? Like, and we're like copying ideas, and it's like, it works, like people are into it because it's like a familiar sound. But you guys are like with Atara, it seems like what I'm hearing, and correct me if I'm wrong, I feel like it's like she came in at like the right time, bottom of the ninth, needed that home run hit to solidify, like, here, we are here. And she has done that, So can you explain? I mean, is that like, am I right or wrong on that? I don't know.
No, I think you're right, man. I think that's why me and Tony were, you said earlier, we're like giddy, you know what I mean? We're happy, like we were stoked, man. I mean, the way everything worked out was just so seamless. And like, I couldn't even think about it working out the way it did, The sale of the record, the way the record came out, one take wonder kind of thing, having like just like the right connection between the musicians. Like me and Tony been in bands all our lives, and then like trying to strive for a certain sound or a certain singer, or like trying to find the right combination of musicians and chemistry and songwriting. Like it doesn't come along easily. And I know, like, I don't take that for granted, because I think we've all been in those bands like that, we're all searching for that special something, and like to finally have that special something, and like all the combinations kind of come together that we've been kind of like looking for a long time. It's special. It's super special, and I think that's why we're so happy and we're giddy about it, because it's like, man, like we've all done those gigs, like the backyard gigs. We've done the club shows. We've done different bands. We're always kind of searching for that, and like when you feel it's right,
Yeah, and I want to say right now, no offense, but I hate you, Tony, because you've played, and you too, Eric, like you guys have played with like musicians that are like legends, you know what I mean? And to be in those bands, although the combination wasn't correct, right? There's still like a missing combination here or there. But it's like you've seen where it can go, right? You guys have been to the top. You guys have played the big festivals. You guys have seen like the top of the mountain. And like I hate you guys, because not many people
Love you,
can get to
man.
that level. Like not many people can get to that level. Like there's people that would kill to be in the same room with like a Joey. There are people that would kill to be on some of the stages that you guys have been on. Just to like get that one opportunity to play, not even like a full song. Like just give me a verse. Like just let me play a verse to like impress this crowd. But I feel like you guys have just really like you mentioned, like maybe the combinations just weren't right, but now I see that there's a major click here with you guys, and I do see the giddiness, I do see the happiness that you guys have. Can you go into just the creation of your songs now, with Atara being involved, and just kind of how that easy flow it is on the new songs that you guys are going to produce?
Well, the first one we came up with was Once in a Lifetime. I came to the rehearsal one day with Eric, and I brought the chords, I brought the lyrics to the first verse and the chorus and the hook of the song. But I knew I wanted a bridge at this point, and then I knew I wanted a part where somebody's speaking at another point, because I feel like that's a real prominent thing in soul music, a little rap part where somebody talks for a little bit. I feel nobody had done that yet, and I wanted to be able to do that. I wanted to bring that into this first song that we released. So I sat down with Eric, and he came up with the lyrics for the bridge. So I had the chords for the bridge. Eric came up with the lyrics for that, and I'm like, cool, man. Now we got the bridge. Showed the song to Atara. We told her, hey, we want a part right here where you talk, say something. Is there anything you can come up with? She's like, yeah, I'll come up with something. And sure enough, she came up with a wonderful little how do you call it? I call it a rap. A little rap in the song, and it sounded badass, man. It sounded something. It made my vision come to light. I had a vision for the song, but I couldn't make that vision come true without the team. you know, and that's how the songs are coming to be. That's how the songs that we have coming up are being created as well. You know, we have a new song coming out that Eric came up with, and same thing. He has a vision for the song, and Atara and myself and everyone else in the band was able to make that vision come to be, just through teamwork and through respecting each other's vision of the song, and helping each other come through with that.
Yeah, and I think that's super important, that there's just like this big connection between you guys to come up with songs, because as a fan on the outside, like, you know, there's been some artists that I've interviewed, and there's, you know, artists out there that they're kind of waiting on the producer to kind of come through, and we know these producers, they're busy people, you know, they don't have that much hours in the day to come and just service you, because they got other bands that they're helping. And sometimes in my heart, when I see that someone is not writing their own songs, I feel like, man, they're kind of just left out in the cold until, you know, they open the door, the producer or someone opens the door for them. So for you guys writing your own songs, you know, bringing it, you know, to the band room and to the, you know, to the studio and working on it together, it makes me feel good as a fan, because I know that there's going to be some quality songs, and that there's going to be plenty of songs to come in the future that are going to have everybody's stamp on it, and, you know, and move forward that way. I wanted to talk about the music video that you guys came out with, and just that process, and who came up with the concept and who worked on that with you guys.
I think Eric and I sat down and we talked about the style of video we wanted. We wanted to do, we wanted to, again, just like with our music, we wanted to be different. We wanted to be a little bit different than what anybody is doing now. And so we said, let's make our video like an authentic 60s, 70s music video. It's, you know, we kind of steered away from, you know, the lowriders and the this and the that. And we decided, let's just present the band. This is our first song. This is our first, you know, single through our Eric's independent label. And so we decided, let's present the band. We're gonna star Atara. Atara is, of course, the main star of the video. And so we decided to just rent out a big white room, just like they did back in the day, decorate it up a little nice, get some stages, have the band stand on the stages and perform in front of the camera. And we had Brian Ponce from the Altons and the Sinceres help us out in directing the music video. And he was able to take our vision and bring it to light. And we're real thankful for the work that he did. And I think it was, my opinion, that's one of my favorite music videos right now too.
Yeah, and this is the first time that, you know, the crowd gets to see the new singer, Atara here. And I love like the big hair, you know, it has like that Soul Train vibe kind of going on. But overall, like, just really beautiful the way it's cut and the way it's put together. And I love the way it came out.
Once in a lifetime,
in life come around ordinary, and some things come around very seldomly, and a few other things are few and far in between. But the love that you and I have, baby, now that's rare. That kind of love only comes around once in a lifetime. Oh, my life, I've been waiting for you. My once in a lifetime love. Oh yeah.
Once in a Lifetime just had big anticipation for that single. What was it like to kind of put that single out and see the fans' response?
It's crazy because like we recorded the song maybe November, finished the song maybe about November, early November we finished the song, and you know it takes about 2 months 3 months to have a song pressed, you know, so there's that whole waiting period.
Yeah.
There's that whole waiting period of like, you know, the song's done, it's in the pressing, you know, you're just waiting. We got the test press. We all went to the studio. We played on the record player. We're listening back to it. We're all stoked on it. And then there's another waiting period for it to arrive, you know what I mean? But just the way it kind of came and went, you know what I mean? Like, you know, I remember looking at the record and be like, all right, let's see how we're gonna get rid of these records, you know what I mean? And we ended up using Bandcamp as an outlet. It's kind of like one of the more favorite outlets for a lot of the record collectors right now and for fans. And I remember I called Tony and I said, look, I'm testing out, you know, the whole transaction between like, you know, the buying and selling and seeing how it looks. You know, this is the first time we're selling a record on Bandcamp. And so I had just kind of put it on the link on the bio, you know? And so this is like probably like 11:30 and we hadn't even announced that what time we're gonna like really like it's a sales on, okay, the sales are going, you know what I mean? So I'm actually on the phone with Tony and we're talking and I was like, all right, what time should we announce this thing? And it's already like up live on the Bandcamp, we just haven't announced it. And so he's like, I don't know, what time's a good time? We're talking back and forth. And then my phone starts going off and I'm just like, oh man, someone just bought the record. It's like, oh shit, all right, cool, whatever. And then we're still talking a little more and then my phone just starts buzzing, you know what I mean? And people are already like chiming in, like buying this record and we haven't even announced it yet. So Tony's like, just, you know what, let it ride, man. Let's go, let's let it go, you know? So pretty much at midnight, it was like, before midnight, it was already live. And so by the time, you know, I went to sleep, like around 1 o'clock, you know, just from trying to get to bed, like we already had sold, you know, a good 50 records or something like that. Go to sleep, wake up at 7:30. We already went through like half the records. You know, this is at 7:30 in the morning, you know what I mean? And I'm thinking like, you know, days before I'm looking at this record, I'm thinking like, man, you know, I hope we get rid of these records. You know what I mean? I hope we do well. You know, what we're gonna do. And like, just the responses was insane. From a new band, new label, new singer. It was something like really like uplifting for all of us. That's why we're all stoked on it. Just to see that people were ready and people wanted it. and there was a demand for it. So it just shows, you know, like, and just to even touch on like just the love that we get from the community from this kind of music. Me and Tony from the first record with Sola, me and him actually went and like drove and hand delivered a lot of these records in Los Angeles. And I remember we went to like a spot like in LA, someone's house, and like she came out and we're kind of jiving with the fans, you know what I mean? It was kind of cool because we got to like hand deliver record, you know. We met with this one guy, he bought a couple records, and we're eating carne asada with him, having a beer, and went to someone else's house. And then like there's a, you know, a young girl there, like she bought a record, and we're like, hey, you're gonna play this record tonight? We're talking to her a little bit. It's like, oh, I don't even have a record player. And we're like, so you just bought the record, you don't have a record player? She's like, no, yeah, I just want like a piece like of the band, like something physical, you know what I mean? And it just dawned on me and Tony, like, you know, it's like, it's just crazy, this community, that they want something like, just something like physical from the band, something like that they can touch, you know what I mean, and hold, you know, not something you can get like an MP3 or play off of Spotify. They wanted something like they can hold in their hand and say, this is the Illusions, you know what I mean? So like from that moment on, I think me and Tony and the whole band were just in love with putting out something that's physical, that people can hold and put in their shelf and put on their record player, and they can have a moment and experience with the record, you know what I mean? That you couldn't really get with like playing off of Spotify or an MP3 or anything. I mean, that's great too. I'm not knocking that at all, but I'm just saying just the whole fact of like having something physical. And it just goes back to like something very old school, like what they had in the 60s and the 70s, and being able to have something on a shelf that you can pull off on a special occasion, you know. But yeah, the response to the whole record was amazing. I think we really didn't expect it, you know. We just thought, you know, we hope it does well, and just to see by 12 noon the next day it was sold out, and there was still like messages coming in like, hey, is there records, is there repress, like what stores have it, and it was like just fun for all of us, you know what I mean? Shipping out records, a big order to Japan, and shipping out records to Indonesia, the UK, all over the US, and just being like, wow, like people responded in such a like amazing way. I don't think any of us expected that.
Yeah.
You know?
And what's crazy too is, you know, Eric and I, you know, we've toured all over, you know, Europe, all over the US, all over, you know, even up to Canada and Mexico. And all these people that are hitting us up from all over the world aren't even the fans that we made doing those previous tours. These are all new people that we haven't even met before, you know. And so that really blew our minds. And even going back to, you know, us hand delivering the records, we felt it was a really important thing to make that connection with the fans, you know, to make that connection with people that, you know, all they see us is on a screen, you know. Like, we feel it's really important to connect with people like that, and that's why we enjoyed going out and delivering these things to people, because that connection was truly an important thing to us.
First off, I mean, I'm a fan, right? But if you guys showed up to my door and dropped off the 45, I would be like, hell yeah, you know? That's so awesome. That's like the awesomest, you know, like there's so many fans out there that I have just been seeing, like, you know, yourself, your guys' group and other groups, like it's just flying off the shelves. And like you guys have mentioned, you know, people want a piece of the band, which I think that's really important, because that's something that we had growing up, right? We would go to Tower Records, we'd buy that CD, right. You know, we'd get that poster, right? I would go to record stores and ask, you know, strangle the guy at the counter, like, hey, give me that poster, you know, that once in a lifetime poster that they would put out, you know? So I think that's what people really love, and they want a piece of the band. And I think overall what that's saying is that they just really appreciate what you guys are doing and know that this is going to go somewhere. So when you guys see that love coming back, I mean, does this get you guys back in the studio and like, hey, we need to produce more, we need to make like an LP now?
Definitely. And playing off of that, it's just like right now with the whole pandemic that's happening, like we're used to playing a show, getting off stage, like being by the merch, and like physically giving these records out to people and selling these records out to people, the shirts, and having like an experience and an interaction. So like it's a crazy time for a musician. Like all of us are very disconnected from our audience, and now we have to play on screens like today, or like, and have this kind of like interaction where the audience can still get to know us, you know, because when the audience is watching us on stage, they're experiencing us like firsthand, you know what I mean? And I think that's the biggest challenge right now. So I think it was a pleasure for us to like hand deliver these records, you know what I mean? Like, and talk with these people and meet with these people, because that's the type of interaction we would have had, you know? When me and Tony were touring in Europe and like signing records like on the road, you know what I mean? And like all over the US, and like talking to people, and like, you know, people showing up to the show and maybe not even knowing who you are, but loving the band and like buying the record just because they liked the experience that they had, and trying to like translate that experience now with everything that's happening with the pandemic. It's like, it's been a challenge, but we've been finding ways of making it work, you know?
I think everything that we've been putting out and releasing, and, you know, for lack of better words, the success that we've had has all been during this pandemic. You know, our first record was released during the pandemic.
Right.
The recordings and all that happened during the pandemic, and it became our silver lining during these times that you know, that aren't so good for, you know, everybody, including ourselves, you know. And we were able to have this outlet to, you know, still put out this music. We still had that desire and that drive, and I don't think anything was going to stop us from, you know, from continuing this passion that we have.
Yeah, and what I feel like what's happening, just, you know, in your genre, and then also just for musicians in general, there's, in DJs, you know, we DJ, and I'm usually like in the club, or we're doing events and things like that. So I feel like there's like this big avalanche that's like kind of like building, it's just building and building and building. And then once you guys can get back in the clubs and, you know, go do your tours, I think there's just going to be a big amount of love, like, for you guys, you know, because you're kind of doing like the groundwork, you know, like with the singles coming out, you know, and you got like, you guys are building like that foundation behind the scenes. But once it comes out, like, and you guys are on stage, and people are going to see that product that's just been really polished, you know what I mean? So I think it's kind of been like a blessing in disguise, although it sucks, and, you know, a lot of people are suffering out there. But I feel like, you know, there's again a silver lining at the end, where you guys are going to definitely be on tour one day, and a lot of people will be like, hey, you know what, I actually got a chance to sit down and listen to your stuff. I actually got a chance to meet you guys because you guys came to my house and dropped off the record, you know, and now I'm here to support. And I think that's what's going to happen. It's just a big avalanche of just fans and, you know, support through the community.
It's gonna be what it was in the 20s, the Roaring 20s. You know what I mean? And it's crazy. It's 100 years later,
Right.
And we can say that we're gonna go through. I feel like we're gonna go through the same experience, where it's just like, once things are kind of back to normal, it's gonna be an explosion. You know what I mean? It's gonna be a massive explosion. And like I feel like touching on what you said, having this moment that we can't actually be out there performing has put everyone back in the studio. You know what I mean? Right. We're all like now writing, let's record, let's put out music. And like as a band that's performing and touring and stuff, sometimes, you know, it takes away from being in the studio, in the songwriting process. And if anything, it's allowed all of us to grow in that way, you know? So everyone putting out music is like, we're still trying to, like, you know, push out new music for people, and people are responsive to that.
I'd like to tell you a little story about a boy and a girl who fell in love. And like any other love, they fell so deep. But as time passed them by, that love seemed to fade away. So here I am to tell you about his story, about his pain. Talking about cold days and rainy nights. This burning pain I feel inside. The day you walked away left tears in my eyes. Yeah. Why'd you have to go? I'm begging, please come back home. Don't you leave me right here, 'cause I'm trembling, I'm shaking, I can't hold on. You will never find love like mine. This pain I feel inside. My pretty angel baby, tell me what do I have to do to get back your attention, darling, to get you back in the mood, yeah. But right now you just wanna walk away and leave me right here to cry. But as day goes by, baby, I'm gonna try talk about, yeah. I can feel it in my bones. Oh, this pain I feel inside. Please listen, lady. Yeah, I can feel it in my bones. Down on my knees, I'm begging you, please, would you walk out that door? No, 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 I can't let you go. Please come
I've never seen you guys perform, but what do you miss about performing? There were some shows that you guys have done, but I mean, do you guys get like that itch?
You know, man, like I said, 15 plus years, you know, performing every weekend and, you know, multiple times during the week sometimes too. And for it to just come to a sudden halt, you know, just, you know, it was a big eye opener to, you know, there were times where like, oh man, I don't want to go play today. I just want to stay at home and watch Netflix or something, you know. But now, man, no, dude, like I miss it, man. I miss interacting with the people. I miss talking with the people after we perform, you know, talking about the music they like listening to, talking about other bands that they've heard live, talking about, you know, just shooting the shit with people, man.
Yeah.
I miss that, you know. I miss being around people who just love music, who show up to a show just to hear music and dance, and we were able to make them dance, you know. And I don't know, that was just one thing that I guess I truly missed.
And then for you, Eric, now you got the label that you're starting there. Can you go into just you know, how that came about and how that's going?
Yeah, I mean, I think we've all come from being a part of different labels, seeing all the different ways of doing things and putting out music. And like, I think now we're all living in a day and age where it's like a DIY kind of thing, you know what I mean? You know, before, back in the day, like you'd have to go to the studio, you'd have to get signed by a label, you'd have to kind of have these contracts and have to abide by certain, you know, criterias to like put out music. And now it's just it's a beautiful situation where we're all making music, you know, we're recording our own music, and we're able to like cater to the sound we're looking for, you know, and kind of like, you know, really like just like really like go for the sound we want, you know what I mean? It's not some, we're creating the sound we want. And so I've been recording for a long time, and you know, we've been trying to get into the studio and like just kind of create these little demos, and like from the demos it starts developing into a tune, and I think it's been a whole development process. But I think the whole DIY of like, okay, we're gonna record our own songs, we're gonna press our own records, we're gonna ship our own records, you know what I mean? We're gonna hand deliver these records, and like we're gonna curtail every detail of this situation. It's amazing, because like I would have 5 years ago, it just seemed like kind of far-fetched, and now that we're doing it, it just feels like right. It feels like the right time to do it, you know. Yeah, it's a lot more work involved, you know, because you definitely have to wear more hats than just being a musician and just being a songwriter. We're getting into the business aspect of pushing out music, you know. And like, you know, it's also growing pains too. I mean, you know, when we're young, like we didn't think about those things. We just wanted to play, we just wanted to perform. Like, oh, you want to put out a record? Like, yeah, sure, put out a record. You know what I mean?
Sorry, guys.
But now it's awesome that we're able to do that. And I think it's just that it's the time. It's the sign of the times that we're able to like have the ability to do this, and we learn how to do this, you know. And it was all fun for me and for the band. It's like, hey, we're gonna put this record out on our own, and like, you know, and it's kind of like gives you like this pride, you know, like, yeah, I did this from the beginning, from the get-go, from sitting around the piano and writing the song, to recording the song, to designing the label, to pressing it, to shipping it, to stamping it, to seeing like people like you know, share it on Instagram. It's like, hey, I got my record in Indonesia. It's like it's definitely another pride that I never knew existed from a musician, like engineer even standpoint. I that was just a different aspect that I feel like we're now able to enjoy. And like, yeah, it's definitely a high. It's like definitely a high. I got to talk a little bit to Jason Joshua after we pushed that record out. He's from Mango Hill, and he actually gave me a lot of great advice and a lot of like little insights of wisdom on how to, like, you know, go about this, you know what I mean? So a big shout out to him. And yeah, and he called me right after the record sold out, like around, you know, 12 noon. He's like, hey, congratulations, man. And like, that's awesome, dude.
Sorry,
and I was telling, I was like, dude, like, man, that was a crazy rush, man. Like seeing these records fly, and like just the response. It was like being on stage or something. It was a crazy high or rush that I can't explain. And I just feel like, you know, he's like, yeah, man. I was like, I'm addicted to that, you know. I'm addicted to that high. And it's funny because, you know, he's putting out records left and right now, you know what I mean? So yeah, big love to the Mango family. But like, yeah, it's definitely something that we're all really invested in, you know what I mean? Putting out our own record, producing it, sitting around and mixing it together and like writing it together. It's a beautiful thing to experience as a group, you know, that I don't think we ever had before. So it's a new experience for sure.
Yeah, and I definitely want to touch on that. I think what's really powerful is you taking it in your own hands, because a lot of the times, you know, you're like that band, like a in a way like a puppy dog. You're kind of like sitting there like, you know, please label love me, right? But
right.
you know in your heart that this music is good, and you don't need to wait for some producer to kind of like acknowledge that it's good and then, you know, put the money into it. You guys can go do it yourself, you know, and I like that approach, because there's so many bands that out there that like, I've seen just that never really made it, you know, and they're great, and I would support them, but there's no label out there that maybe they fit that box. So I love that you kind of taking that approach, like, hey, I'm going to take this by the reins, I'm going to do it myself. And then as far as for you know, Mango Hill, Jason Joshua, you know, it's I could definitely see that being a rush for you, because for him, just looking at the outside again, he's putting together, you know, he's finding groups, he's putting, you know, investing his time and money, I'm sure, into these groups, and then seeing other people buy this product or buy their music and get into that band. I mean, that's a huge rush, because in his heart, he probably feels like, hey, you see or hear what I hear, you know, it's like we share that same emotion on that specific band, you know. So I think that's really cool. So is that the next step, is, you know, once you guys, I mean, obviously you guys are on liftoff stage and you guys are gonna hit the stars, but is it eventually to maybe find some of these other groups around your area and kind of, you know, groom some of the groups to be, you know, similar to what you guys are doing?
For sure. I mean, the Illusions, a lot of the members in Illusions are like my go-to musicians, you know. I like to think of them like kind of like as the house band in a sense, you know. Tony's like my right arm and all this stuff. So like, you know, like, yeah, that's the next step too, is like maybe producing other artists and putting out new music, and just kind of continuing to grow in this community. Like we have so much talent that we're surrounded by. It's just like, it's like a shame not to try to share that talent and you know, with our abilities, you know what I mean? And yeah, those are all things we're all looking at very soon too. Collectively and individually, I mean, we all want to work together, you know what I mean? We all get excited when we see another artist or band put out their music, and we see a lot of people sharing the recording studio together, and that's going to be happening a lot more together. But yeah, that's you should see more of that happening this coming year.
Yeah, that's exciting stuff. And you know, there's a lot of talented singers out there, there's a lot of talented musicians, but they just don't have that avenue. So if you're out there actively seeking, you know, and you get the right singers, you know, for other projects and stuff like that, I mean, it could be lucrative, you know, like that business is lucrative. There's a lot of stars out there that are just need the musicians, you know. And I think that for Tony and for you guys as a whole, you guys are able to write the music, and that's just a hard thing to do. And for all the songs that you guys have written, like some of the other stuff I've heard, I mean, they're hit songs. They're hit songs, you know what I mean? Like they're not like a whatever song, you know. I feel like the songs that you've written for the Illusions, the other stuff that you've done in other bands, all that experience, yeah, man, you guys have something very special. And I'm sure that any musician that watches this, they should definitely be hitting you guys up to get the musicians that you guys have on their track.
Yeah, and I always just want to encourage everybody out there. I mean, like, it's hard to have your own label, it's hard to have your own band, it's hard to do all those things, but like, there's a big reward in it, you know what I mean? So it's all achievable. I think it's just hard work is just it pays off, you know what I mean? Everyone's been working hard, we've all been putting in the work, and that I think anybody can do it. Just you have to really just strive for it, you know what I mean? Like, you know, it's instead of, like you said, like waiting around for someone to pick you up and put your stuff out there, put your stuff out there. That's what I say. Like, and that's what we're doing. Is like, hey, we're putting out our own stuff. You know, we're recording our own stuff. It's a DIY situation here. We're like stoked on it. You know.
So this is shocking news. There's a ghostwriter in the band named David Reyes, and can you tell us a little bit about him?
We have visions for the songs. You know, we're really inspired by the Philadelphia sound, the Gamble and Huff, Kenny Gamble, and a lot of the stuff, you know, like the Delphonics, the Stylistics, and all those groups that came from, you know, Philadelphia. They had orchestras in the background, you know, straight up orchestras. It wasn't just a two-piece horn section or a small brass section. They had straight up orchestras, and we were able to link up with David Reyes, who is an orchestral arranger, composer, and he's also very educated in soul music. So for him to be part of this team too is really a big thing for us, and that's how we're able to get that sound across, and that's how we're able to put music that we love out.
I think that's huge, because there's no group right now or I think, solo artist right now that has an edge like that. Because that's one thing that when you do hear the oldies from back in the day, you do hear like that orchestra sound.
Yeah.
And that's what really gets the tear jerks, right? Like the tear jerk, the reaction, like the real, because when you hear those strings and you hear like the all, you know, that orchestra together, it just kind of really brings everything like even fuller. So that's a huge advantage. And this is just in the future now, we're going to be working with him on every single song or just certain songs?
I think when appropriate. I mean, not all songs are going to take that orchestra
Right.
or that type of arrangement. You know, like once in a lifetime, that was his arrangements for the horns, and it was a baritone and the sax and a trumpet, right? And that
Right.
one. And we have a new tune coming out soon. It's called Baby Don't Waste My Time, in parentheses. And it's gonna be like that. It's gonna be like a Delphonics throwback, you know what I mean? That style. It's gonna be a big production, and we're excited because, like, you know, it's gonna be something different for a lot of the soul lovers out there right now that, you know, maybe it's not really getting put out too frequently right now. You know, I know there's some string arrangements in some of the newer songs, but this is gonna be a big production, and we're excited for that.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. That's huge. I mean, that's a really big deal. Because not everybody has access to something like that, you know, or someone that could just do that. I know, like, you know, like Beatles albums, you know, like, you know, Led Zeppelin albums, all those guys use those big, you know, arrangements, a big orchestra, and it really bring like the song to the next level where, you know, people really, those are the most memorable songs when those type of, you know, orchestra comes in, you know. So I'm super excited for that. That's huge news.
Yeah, and I think we're all excited too, because it's something new to us too. Like to be able to work with someone like David, and to work with like a string section, a bigger horn section. It's something we always dreamed about, and now it's like it's about dreaming big and going big. You know what I mean? And yeah, it's something I think we imagined as kids or like growing up, and now that it's happening, you know, it's like it's crazy. It's crazy. For sure.
The music that the Illusions have, it's awesome. It's been selling like crazy off the shelves. They can't even put their phone down. It's already gone the moment that they release it. But there's new music coming out. So what music should we be looking for from the Illusions?
Yeah, we have a record probably coming out, I want to say like by May, hopefully, with the pressing plants. New record single be called Baby Don't, and then be a hot B-side. It's gonna be one of those deep cut covers like we usually do, and I think everyone's gonna be excited about that. So be on the lookout for that, coming off of Blackbird Records.
Awesome. So I definitely want to thank the Illusions again for joining me on Universal Groove. Thank you again. We'll see you soon.
Hey, thanks for having us, man.
Bye. Thank you.
Thanks for everyone watching.
Strong enough to change.